My wife took my credit card to fund her secret vacation, so I let the bank freeze her account and moved out without leaving a note. I'm a 33-year-old guy, and I've always prided myself on trusting my wife. I'm not the jealous or controlling type. If Emily said she needed money for groceries, I'd hand her the card without hesitation. If she wanted a night out with her friends, I'd even book her an Uber. That's the kind of marriage I thought we had. Easy, honest, stable. But one evening, while I was paying the electric bill, something caught my eye on our joint account. A $2,400 charge. Not a small purchase. Not groceries. Not bills. It was from an airline I'd never flown with. My first thought was that it had to be fraud. Maybe someone cloned our card. I remember calling out to her, "Hey, Em, did you use the card for anything big this week?" She barely looked up from her phone, gave this half smile, and said, "Oh yeah, just booking a girls' trip with Jen and Marcy. We found a great deal, so I grabbed it before prices went up." Something about her tone didn't sit right. It was too casual, too rehearsed. Her eyes didn't meet mine, just flicked to the TV. I laughed it off, but deep down, there was this flicker. You know that cold feeling in your chest when something's wrong, but you can't prove it yet? That's what it was. Still, I told myself not to be paranoid. She deserved a break. We both did. That night, while brushing my teeth, I stared at my reflection and thought, $2,400 for a girl's trip. I couldn't remember her mentioning it before. No talk of flights, dates, or destinations. Just a sudden trip. I tried to shake it off, but as I turned off the lights and lay beside her, my gut whispered the same thing over and over. Something's off, and I had no idea then. Just how right it was? A few days went by and I tried to forget about it. I told myself I was overthinking, that maybe I was just being a paranoid husband. But that charge kept gnawing at me like a splinter I couldn't pull out. Every time I'd open my banking app, my eyes went straight to that $2,400. And then I noticed something new. Another charge. Smaller this time. A boutique hotel. Then a spa deposit. Then a restaurant reservation in a city we'd never been to together. My stomach sank. I waited until she fell asleep, then quietly took her card from her purse and cross-checked every transaction. Each one linked to the same destination, Cancun. The next morning, over breakfast, I tried to sound casual. "Hey, babe," I said, buttering toast. "How much did that girl's trip end up costing? Just curious." She didn't even look up from her phone. "Don't worry about it. It's all sorted." Her tone was sharp, defensive, like I'd just accused her of something. That was the moment I realized I wasn't crazy. She was hiding something. Not just money, but the truth. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I logged into the credit card account on my laptop. I printed out every transaction and tucked the papers into a folder I kept hidden in my desk drawer. My hands were shaking as I slid them inside. I didn't even know why I was doing it. Maybe part of me already knew this would become evidence someday. When she came out of the bathroom, she smiled and climbed into bed beside me, acting like everything was normal. But all I could hear was the sound of the printer still cooling down in the other room, the quiet hum of betrayal already beginning to take shape. And I knew this was only the start. A few nights later, I came home early from work. Emily was in the shower again, music playing loud enough to drown out anything else. Her iPad sat unlocked on the dresser, the screen glowing with notifications. I don't know what made me look. Maybe curiosity, maybe instinct. But when I did, everything I'd been denying hit me like a freight train. There it was, an itinerary email. 2 tickets to Cancun, her name, and someone named Ryan H. I froze. Ryan was the same coworker she'd mentioned before, the guy she supposedly only talked to about work projects. I scrolled further. Romantic resort photos, spa confirmations, messages like, "Can't wait to see you again," and "Finally some time away together." My hands started trembling so badly I almost dropped the iPad. The room suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. The steam from the bathroom crept into the bedroom, fogging the edges of the mirror. I could see my reflection in it, eyes wide, mouth open, completely numb. When she came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, humming to herself, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. She noticed the silence right away. "You okay?" she asked. I just nodded, forcing a weak smile. Yeah, just tired. Because in that moment I couldn't confront her. Not yet. The rage was too raw, the betrayal too sharp. I needed proof, more than screenshots. I needed to plan. That night I lay awake next to her, listening to her breathing. Every inhale felt like a lie. Every time she moved closer, I wanted to flinch. She'd taken my trust, my money, and now she was planning to take a vacation with another man, funded by me. As I stared at the ceiling, one thought kept repeating in my mind like a heartbeat. She thinks I don't know, but soon she'll find out exactly who she's married to. The next morning, I made her coffee like I always did. Same mug, same smile, same casual "love you." It felt robotic, but I couldn't let her see what I knew. Not yet. She was sitting at the counter scrolling through her phone, humming along to some song. I watched her from across the room and thought, how do you act so normal knowing what you've done? Over the next few days, she started preparing for her work trip. She talked about meetings, client dinners, and presentations like she was rehearsing lines from a script. She even asked me to help her pick out outfits. Nothing too flashy, she said. It's supposed to look professional. I smiled, pretending to care, helping her fold sundresses and sandals meant for beaches, not boardrooms. At one point, I caught myself staring at her as she zipped her suitcase. She looked so proud of her lie. I almost admired how smoothly she pulled it off. Almost. Inside, though, I was building something quiet, something colder than anger. I started moving my own things discreetly. Extra keys, cash, laptop, documents. She didn't notice. She was too busy daydreaming about her trip. The night before she left, we ordered takeout and watched a movie. She fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. And, for a second, I almost wished I could go back to not knowing, to being the husband who believed her stories without question. But truth, once seen, can't be unseen. When her alarm went off the next morning, she rushed around the room, throwing last-minute things into her bag. I kissed her forehead at the door and told her to have fun and be safe. She smiled, said, "Love you," and walked out like she wasn't walking away from our entire marriage. As the car pulled out of the driveway, my heart finally steadied. Because she thought she was leaving for paradise. But I already knew. She was heading straight into her own storm. The moment her plane took off, I called the bank. My voice was calm, too calm for what I was doing. "Hi, I need to report some suspicious transactions," I said, rehearsing the words in my head as the agent verified my account. I listed every charge, the flights, the resort, the spa, the restaurants. When the woman on the other end said, "We'll freeze the card and begin an investigation," I felt something click inside me, like the sound of a lock sealing a door I'd never open again. That evening, my phone buzzed. It was Emily. "Hey, weird thing. My card isn't working here. Can you check it?" I stared at the screen for a long time before typing, "I'll look into it later." Must be a glitch. Minutes later, she called. I didn't answer. Then came another text. They're saying it's declined. "Can you please fix it? Ryan's paying for the hotel right now. This is embarrassing." That word, embarrassing, made me laugh out loud. She was embarrassed because her little fantasy vacation wasn't going as planned. I imagined her standing at that marble front desk, trying to smile while panic crept behind her eyes. The same panic I felt when I saw the first charge. By midnight, she was furious. "What did you do? Why is my card frozen? I can't access my account." I muted her messages and went to bed. It was the first peaceful sleep I'd had in months. In the morning, I woke up to another message, this time a long one. She said the trip was ruined, that everything was a misunderstanding, and that she'd explain everything when she got back. I smiled as I read it, because for once I didn't need her explanations. I already had something better, silence and control. She had taken my money to buy a lie. I'd just repossessed the truth. By the second day of her vacation, Emily's tone had changed. The angry texts stopped, replaced by desperate ones. "Please, can we just talk? I made a mistake, but it's not what you think. Ryan's just a coworker. Nothing happened between us. I didn't respond. Not a single word. Instead, I opened a new email folder titled Evidence and forwarded every message there. Her apologies, her excuses, even the voice notes where she cried and said, "I didn't mean to hurt you." Funny how guilt always finds its voice when convenience disappears. That night I started packing. Not her kind of packing, the kind that leads to a beach, but the kind that means you're leaving a chapter behind. Clothes, laptop, documents, a few personal things. I moved quietly, methodically. Every sound in that house, the creak of the floor, the hum of the fridge, felt like it was holding its breath with me. Before sunrise, I had everything I needed ready by the door. But I didn't want to just disappear without a trace. I wanted her to see what she'd done, to face it. So I walked into the bedroom and placed a single folder on her pillow. Inside were the printed receipts, screenshots of her itinerary, and a handwritten note that simply said, "You used my card to pay for your lies. Now you can pay for the truth." I stood there for a moment, looking at the bed we used to share. It felt hollow now, just a stage where love had once performed before betrayal took over the script. When I left the house, the sun was just beginning to rise. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The silence behind me was loud enough, and for the first time since finding that first charge, I felt something close to peace. Cold, steady, earned peace. But deep down, I knew the real storm hadn't even started yet. By the time her plane landed back home, I was long gone. I'd rented a small furnished apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but quiet. It smelled faintly of old wood and detergent, the kind of neutral space that feels invisible. That's what I wanted to be. Invisible. I turned my phone off for the first 2 days. No notifications, no calls, no explanations. I wanted her to feel that void, the same emptiness I'd felt every night knowing she was lying beside me. When I finally turned it back on, there were 57 missed calls and over 100 messages. Most started with anger. "Where are you? This isn't funny. You're ruining everything." Then they shifted. "Please, can we talk? I messed up. I'll fix it. Just tell me where you are." I didn't respond. I didn't even open most of them. Friends began reaching out. Emily had told them I'd abandoned her, that I was unstable, that she came home to an empty house with no warning. I didn't bother defending myself. I just said, "We're taking some space," and left it at that. The truth would reveal itself soon enough. It always does. The first night in my new apartment was strange. The silence felt too heavy, like it was pressing against my chest. But I realized it wasn't loneliness I felt. It was clarity. No lies humming in the background, no tension buried under polite conversation. Just me, a mattress on the floor, and peace. I ordered cheap takeout, sat by the window and watched the city lights blink like distant signals. Somewhere out there she was spinning her story, trying to patch the holes in a ship she'd already sunk. And me? I wasn't planning revenge. I didn't need to. The truth was already doing that for me. One unanswered call at a time. 3 days later, the messages changed again. The anger was gone. What replaced it was panic. I found the folder. "Please, just talk to me." "It's not what you think, I swear." I didn't reply. I didn't have to. The evidence spoke louder than I ever could. Every screenshot, every receipt, every timestamp, it was all there, neatly organized like the closing statement in a case she'd built against herself. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again, this time from an unknown number. It was her mother. I hesitated before answering. "Why are you doing this to her?" she demanded immediately, her voice trembling. "She's crying her heart out. Can't you just talk to your wife?" I took a deep breath and said calmly, "Ask your daughter who Ryan is." There was silence on the line. Then a small broken whisper. "Oh, she told you." And the call ended. By evening, mutual friends started reaching out too. They wanted my side of the story. I didn't give them details. I simply said, "Check her Facebook." And sure enough, within hours she had deactivated her account. Her world was unraveling, not because I exposed her, but because her lies had nowhere left to hide. The house was still in both our names, so I knew she'd eventually go back there. I imagined her walking in, seeing the empty drawers, the cold quiet, the note on the bed. I wondered if she'd cry, rage, or just sit there in disbelief. Part of me felt guilty, not because she didn't deserve it, but because I remembered the version of her I married, the woman who used to laugh until she cried, who would reach for my hand in crowded rooms. That version was long gone. Now she was just a stranger sitting in the wreckage of her own making, and I hadn't even started moving on yet. It was a Thursday when she showed up at my office. No warning, no message, just Emily standing in the lobby, her hair messy, eyes swollen from crying. For a split second, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked smaller somehow, fragile in a way I'd never seen before. My coworkers gave me that awkward look, the one that says, "Handle your drama somewhere else." So I took her outside. The minute the door closed behind us, she started talking. Fast. Desperate. "Please, just let me explain. It wasn't what you think. Ryan and I, we were just friends. I just needed a break." Her voice cracked on the word break, and I felt this strange detachment, like I was watching someone else's life. "You used my card," I said quietly. "You lied. Repeatedly." She shook her head, tears spilling over. "It got out of hand. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just felt invisible. You work all the time, and I thought maybe—" I cut her off. "So you decided to fix that by flying to Cancun with another man? Using my money?" The words hung there between us, sharp and cold. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Just a trembling silence. I handed her an envelope, a copy of the bank's fraud report and the official letter freezing the account. "You can talk to the bank if you need money," I said. "They know everything." She reached out like she wanted to touch me, but I stepped back. "Emily," I said, my voice steady now, "I loved you, but I can't respect you. And I can't live in a marriage built on debt and deceit." Her face crumbled. She whispered, "Please don't walk away." But I already had. I turned, walked to my car, and drove off, leaving her standing there in the cold, clutching papers that spelled out the price of betrayal. Over the next week, silence turned into whispers. Her friends started unfollowing her. Her coworkers stopped inviting her to lunch. Even Ryan quit his job 2 days after she came back. Rumor was he didn't want HR involved once everything leaked. I hadn't told anyone directly, but truth has a way of traveling faster than denial. Emily texted again, this time with long messages that read like public apologies written in private. "I've ruined everything. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Please just talk to me once." I didn't reply. I didn't even feel angry anymore, just empty, like she'd already taken everything she could from me and there was nothing left to give. But the world around her was unraveling fast. Our mutual friends began posting vague quotes about dishonesty and karma. Her mother stopped calling. Even her sister, who'd always defended her, sent me a short message. "I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that." One evening I saw Emily's car parked outside my new apartment. She didn't knock. She just sat there for nearly an hour. I watched through the blinds as she stared at her steering wheel, probably trying to gather the courage to face me. Eventually, she drove off. No messages followed that night. For the first time, I felt something close to closure. She was finally facing consequences that didn't involve me lifting a finger. No revenge plots, no yelling, no social media wars. Just the quiet humiliation that comes when lies collapse on their own weight. People always say silence is cruel, but I learned it's actually justice's favorite tool. She wanted control. She wanted the last word, but all she got was quiet, and the reflection of her own choices staring back at her. And as I watched the taillights disappear down the street, I realized the man who once begged for her honesty was gone. What remained was someone she could no longer manipulate or reach. Months passed. The chaos slowly faded into background noise. My life became quiet again. The kind of quiet that feels heavy at first, but later starts to heal you. I threw myself into work, started therapy, joined a gym, and rebuilt small parts of myself I didn't realize she'd taken. Every day felt like peeling away another layer of her voice in my head. The guilt, the gaslighting, the manipulation disguised as love. People stopped asking about Emily after a while. Divorce papers were filed. Mutual friends moved on. Occasionally, I'd get the awkward, "How are you holding up?" text, but I kept my answers short. Better, I'd say. And it was true. One evening, as I came home from work, I noticed a small envelope on my old doorstep. No name, no return address. Inside was the wedding ring I'd given her. Just the ring, and a short note written in her handwriting. "You deserved better. I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long time. Not out of sadness, but finality. There was no grand apology, no attempt to win me back. Just a quiet surrender. I placed the ring on the counter and realized I didn't feel anger anymore. Just acceptance. Later that night, I sat on my balcony watching the city lights flicker like distant memories. For the first time in a long time, I didn't replay the betrayal in my head. I didn't wonder why or how or what if. I just breathed. They say grief isn't always about losing someone. Sometimes it's about losing the version of yourself who tolerated less than you deserved. And as I looked at that ring one last time before putting it away for good, I knew this chapter was finally over. But the piece that came after, that was mine, and mine alone. Still, I couldn't help but wonder, did she ever truly understand what she lost? Today, I live alone in a modest apartment downtown. Nothing fancy. A couch that doesn't match the curtains, a plant I'm still learning not to kill, and a kitchen that smells like coffee most mornings. But it's mine. Every corner of it is honest. There are no hidden passwords, no strange phone calls at night, no lies disguised as laughter. Just quiet, and me learning how to exist again without the constant fear of being deceived. I still catch myself thinking about her sometimes. Not out of love, but as a reminder. The human heart has a strange way of remembering pain long after it's healed. When those thoughts creep in, I let them. They remind me of who I used to be. The man who ignored his instincts. The one who confused comfort with trust. But I'm not him anymore. My therapist once told me, closure isn't something they give you. It's something you build. I didn't understand it back then. Now I do. Closure came the moment I stopped needing her to explain why. It came when I chose peace over punishment. When I realized revenge isn't freezing someone's bank account. It's unfreezing your own life. Last week, I got an email from the bank confirming that the investigation was complete and the disputed charges had been reversed. The money was back in my account. It felt symbolic, like the universe quietly handing me back the parts of myself I'd lost. Sometimes, late at night, I walk down to the river near my apartment. The water's dark and calm, carrying everything away. The noise, the betrayal, the anger. I stand there, hands in my pockets, and let it remind me that peace doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. And as the current moves beneath the moonlight, I whisper back to myself, "You didn't lose her. You found you,